Hey everyone, I'm back after months and months and months. So Adeline was born and it's just been a crazy, wild ride since then. I'm probably gonna have to stop and this video might be a little bit choppy because I do have Adeline with me, of course, and I just kind of wanted to do, I feel like it might be a long dragged out video. Hopefully I don't repeat myself too much, stutter too much, or sniffle too much, because every time I'm editing and watching back I notice that I sniffle a lot, and it's allergy season and it's already driving me crazy. So I'm gonna really try hard not to do on all of those things, because I do want to touch on multiple different subjects. So to catch you up, instead of doing a video on the birth and the labor and just going so into detail, I want to spare you those details. If you have any questions, just ask me. I'm just going to give you kind of the shorthand of it, and then I want to just tell you what we've been doing since, how Adeline is doing, and how I'm kind of surviving in survival mode, and some tips and tricks on getting, so she's 3 months old now, and getting your 3-month-old on a schedule. Because for me with Annika, a schedule was everything. It's a lifesaver, and it's even more so that way now that A, I'm working, and B, that now I have 2 kids. Like, it's even more important. And you really can't do a schedule until like before 3 months, because they're just too small. They sleep whenever they want to sleep. She would go to bed when she wanted to go to bed, which was always way too late for me because I was exhausted. So I know at the beginning it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then slowly progressed around 2 months to like 8:30. And it's tough, and it's tough, with Annika being 4, to kind of give her the attention she needs, put her down to bed, especially if I don't have my husband around. So getting her into this schedule now is everything. So I kind of started implementing it last night. I'll tell you what I did, what I used to help me through it, because it's a lifesaver. So to kind of rewind and go back to the labor, I'm just going to give you some like key points. I really don't want to go into heavy detail. So a lot of people told me that your second labor is going to be a lot faster and a lot easier, just quicker, I suppose. So it was half the time of Annika's, because Annika, I was in labor like 16 hours or something like that before I could even have my epidural, and then she wasn't born until the day after. So I was in labor with her for like almost 24 hours, longer, I think. Okay, sorry about that. Memory card was full. So if you want to skip ahead and just kind of spare yourself the details of the labor and delivery, I will put where you can skip to down below. So I was kind of just saying how Adeline's labor was shorter. However, with Annika's labor, yes, it was really long, and I had to wait a really long time to get my epidural, so I was laboring naturally, essentially, for a very long time. And I thought I knew what pain was, and it hurt a whole lot, but I was very calm, even though I was in a lot of pain, and I was really good throughout. So even the nurses, my husband, they were all really impressed and said that like I did very well, and I thought so too. This time round though, I was the girl who was screaming, inconsolable, yelling at the nurses, screaming for an epidural. I was like not a good patient at all. So I would say that yes, this labor was half as long, but for some reason, and I don't know why, it was more brutal. The contractions were lasting like twice as long, and they just, I don't know, they just hurt so much more. I didn't know that it could hurt more than that. So that's really all I'm gonna say. I don't want to give like the play-by-play. I think it's boring. So if you have a specific question, you can ask me. One thing I will say, the last thing I will say, just because it's interesting and I didn't know, so it might be interesting to you, is that you can be in labor for a few days. So my labor actually started on a Friday night, and I didn't actually give birth to her until like Sunday morning. So on Friday night they had sent us home from the hospital, which Okay, I am starting again, because not only was my card full, when I came back, then my battery died. So I call that mom life, where everything just kind of is overwhelming and doesn't work out and falls all around you. That's mom life. So I'm sorry about that. I know this video is going to be all over the place, and there's really nothing I can do about that. So me and Annika have like a little, she loves when I sing her this song, and it just kind of started in like the first week that I had Adeline, and it would be something like, it's 7 a.m. and the baby puked the dog pooped on the floor, I haven't had my coffee, and then I go like this to her, and then she goes, Mom life. So we laugh at the struggles together, and that's just kind of the way it is. So I think what I was saying is how your labor can go on for multiple days. So they sent me home on a Friday night. I had contractions sporadically through Saturday, and then they started up really bad Saturday night, and I was kind of in denial that this baby was ever going to come, and I didn't want to be sent home again, so I decided to go to sleep that night. And I woke Eric up at 1:30 a.m. Screaming, and knew it was the real deal. And we went to the hospital, and then she was born Sunday at around 10:30. So that really, I had no idea about that. I hadn't really heard about that either. So you might find that interesting or learn something from that. And that's all I'm going to say about the whole labor process. I'm just glad that it's done. And I think we are done with kids. I mean, I would keep going forever, but I mean, having to go back 4 years later, because Annika's 4 turning 5, it's a big challenge, and it's really hard to go back to square one. And I was younger when I did it the first time. I'll be 32, which I know I'm really young, but it's hard. It's really hard. Especially I'm still going to call her 4 for as long as I can. My 4-year-old is super good, and I'm really lucky with that. So she's been awesome. She's a great helper. She understands when things are hard. We always say that they're not going to be hard for long, and she really gets that. So I'm going to move on to kind of the next kind of phase that I wanted to talk about, which is getting into that routine and into that schedule so that everything isn't so chaotic, hopefully. So I'm going to show you a book. It's called Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child. I can never say that like all in one bite. Like I always shuffle my words. Anyways, this book is a lifesaver. I know so many people who have used this book. What's awesome about it is you never know what to do, especially the first time around. There's so many things you don't know when you're becoming a mom. So with this, you can really just flip to the table of contents. You can check out how many weeks your baby is, and it will really give you a play-by-play of what's going on with your baby, things that you should be doing, etc. So I used this like the Bible when Annika was a baby, and I've since gone back to it. Now that Adeline is 3 months old, I'm starting to do things a little bit differently, and what I'm doing is I'm really being cautious of when she's wakeful for 2 hours, when she's 2 hours awake, that I get her down for her nap before she's overtired. So I just put her down right now. It's probably a little after noon. She had a long nap at 8 a.m. And what I did differently yesterday, she had been going to sleep at around 8:30 p.m. And the reason for that is, you know, they would always go to bed later when they're first born, and then it gets like a little bit earlier, but she was not on a schedule, and you can't force a schedule on them when they're that little. So now I'm kind of putting it into play. I didn't know that it would work. I was really kind of scared to do it. I wanted to put her in bed for 6:30 yesterday, and that way I would have more time to put Annika to bed, to play with her, and just kind of focus on her, instead of what I had been doing was focusing on Annika, and Adeline was almost like the after thing. Okay, Annika's in bed, let's put Adeline to bed, and it was around 8:30, and I was starting to see that it's just too late for her. Annika was always in bed by 6:30, and it is what the book recommends. So I decided to go ahead and try that, not thinking it was going to work all that well, and it worked fantastically. She got up about the same amount of time that she normally does, and I should say that neither children ever liked the bassinet, so Adeline was not using her bassinet, and so to keep me from like having to go back and forth so many times, I just brought her into bed with us, which was a really big struggle when she was even smaller because it just wasn't safe to do so. So we were kind of like sleeping in a rocking chair with her. These are like the hard times. Like life is tough at this point. So then she was in bed with us to keep me from getting up as much. So last night she did great. She got up about every 3 hours. Sometimes she'll even pull a 5-hour stretch, which is amazing. Annika never slept that well. And so we're going to do it again tonight. I had time to play dolls with Annika, to read her books, and to snuggle with her. And, she woke up this morning. Adeline woke up, and you can tell she was so much more rested. So it really works, even when you think it's not going to. If you'll just listen to this book and put all of these components into play, your life will be so much easier. And just like the title says, the Healthy Sleep Habit, Happy Child, there, I just did it. this is really just sums up Annika. And Annika was always a very rested child, and she was a very happy child, and it's really just played through to her age now. She's just a great kid, and I really think that that has a lot to do with it. Okay, from the time I have sat down to do this video, I think my card has filled up like 5 times. So this is going to be like the most difficult to edit. I do have some good videos coming up, so stay tuned for that. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye.